Welcome back to Speaking Spurs for video number 2 of today, where we're going to be talking about transfers. So if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to like and pop your comments below about players that you like, that you want, people we should be linked with, that we haven't been linked with. Yeah, so that's it. Let's get this conversation going. So the Traore deal is not going away. Someone we're heavily linked with in the summer. Couldn't get it over the line. They wanted too much money. It's been dropped. We heard quotes of 20 million, then they want 25 million. So we had a bid of 15 million turned down for the Spanish international. They value him at 25 million. However, there is now expectation a compromise can be made on that fee of around 20 million, which has probably got add-ons for this 25-year-old winner, 25-year-old winger from Wolves. He's been there since 2018. And hopefully we can get it over the line before Monday's transfer deadline. So as I said, long-term target of ours from the summer. The interest has remained, not just from Nuno, apparently from Conte as well, certainly from Paratici. He's out of contract June 2023. A new deal has been on the table for about 15 months, but he's reluctant to sign it with his current club. He wants to move on to that next level. Apparently personal terms, very easy for us to agree, even though there was a possibility that Barcelona would come in for him. However, with Barcelona, there's so much going on financially with them. It's a risk for anyone to go there. Personal terms they don't think will be an issue. It's just getting something agreed with them. But they reckon it's getting closer and closer and closer. Look, I expect that this one is going to happen. We're at that point. Question is he an upgrade for us? So he will be in competition with other wingers in the squad, such as Lucas Moura, such Steven Bergwijn, Bryan Hill. On top of that, with wing-backs such as Emerson Royale and Matt Doherty. Matt Doherty being a former teammate of his. I expect it to get over the line. I kind of hope we do sign him, because I think Conte could be the manager to turn things around for this guy in his career. And people say he doesn't score enough goals, hasn't enough end products. He's actually scored in the last 2 games. And before some of you say, no, he hasn't, he actually scored in the last game, but it was ruled out for offside by VAR. So there you go. The ball has been in the back of the net by this guy in 2 games recently. Right, moving on. Franck Kessie, somebody, again, we've been linked with several times. Obviously, he's up for grabs in the summer for a free. It is understood that, we have agreed a deal. Apparently, this is coming from... Where's this one? Can't even remember where I got it from. According to journalist Rudy Galletti. So Tottenham are hoping to seal the transfer for him later this month to ward off competition in the summer. Look, it's obvious. He's a very talented player. He's at a good age. He's at a decent club. There is a possibility that he might want to stay at Milan till the end of the season. Obviously, there's an opportunity to win a Scudetto. They could win the title. And then he's got a trophy to his name. And if he waits till the summer, he's got the pick of the bunch, because there will be several teams after him. However, we are pushing to get this deal. We don't want to face that competition in the summer. So, there is hope that we can get him. But, a lot of these players, money is a massive motivator. And one of the reasons he's not going to stay there is because they're not going to offer him the money that he wants. So if there is something about money in there, give him the contract he wants and bring him in early. Very talented midfielder. I like the prospect of this. It seems like many of you are happy with the idea of this one to get over the line. I think waiting for the summer would be a silly idea. But Rudy Galletti is reporting that we have agreed a 15 million euro deal with Milan for the midfielder. So they'll be happy with that price tag. And why wouldn't they? And it just makes sense for us. Just blow the other teams out the water now. Get it over and done with. Look, I understand we need to save money because of the financial climate, but I don't care. If you want winners in, you want good players, you have to go out and get them. And if this is the club, if this is the way things are going to go, then I'm happy that we're finally making moves, especially when teams like Real Madrid, they are one of the clubs that are interested with signing the midfielder. To get him in for free at the end of the season, his wages are going to be nowhere near as high as some of the other players at Real Madrid. But he's currently away with Ivory Coast at the Africa Cup of Nations. He might come back to finish the season with Milan. Who knows? But the offer's there, and apparently Milan are happy with it. And of course they are. 15 million is better than nothing. Moving on to Tanguy Ndombele. So he's been linked with a move. to be back with Maurizio Pochettino, somebody that rarely used him when he was at Tottenham because of his physical condition. So Pochettino actually refused to speak about Paris Saint-Germain's pursuit of Tanguy Ndombele, but admitted they are looking to get more deals done before the transfer window shuts. So the main issue with this for us is the fact that they don't want to pay outright. Everybody financially doesn't want to just throw money on a player. At the end of the day, he cost us a shed load of money. Levy's going to want a lot of that money back. It's not going to happen. So a loan deal is probably the best option. However, I don't think they want a loan deal. They want a permanent deal. A loan deal would be great, but they need to get players out the door as well. They got a load of midfielders. Problem is, do any of them want to come our way? You know, PSG are open to progress, to improve. But, you know, Pochettino was obviously a fan of him because he wanted to come to Tottenham in the first place. But the condition that he was in wasn't great. But obviously in the French League, that's where he showed what he can do. And the French League is not the Premier League. So I think if he goes there, he could be a really, really good addition to their squad. Problem is, if they want to do a swap deal, who's going to come in? Well, let's talk about that next player now. So Gini Wijnaldum obviously moved from Liverpool over to Paris Saint-Germain. So according to Football London, that's where this story's come from. They claim that a deal for the Netherlands international could see Ndombele or Dele Alli head the opposite way in exchange. So we obviously want to offload Ndombele. Dele Alli wasn't in the squad against Chelsea, which tells you we're trying to keep him fit because there's something in the pipeline. They reckon Newcastle have opened talks for Dele Alli. So that's why he was out of the squad. You've got to keep him fit for those talks to be ongoing. No point in risking him. But we all know Pochettino wanted him over the summer. We didn't let him go. He wanted him in the January before that. Again, we didn't let him go. And the summer before that. So somebody's been trying to sign. Gini Wijnaldum, would you take him? I certainly would. We saw in the games for the Netherlands what a fantastic player he still is. Apparently, he's willing to listen. So he's also been linked with Arsenal. You know, he went on a free transfer at the end of the day, Wijnaldum, like great player. He's only been in Paris for a matter of months. And when speaking in October of last year, he opened up on the difficult start to his life in France. He was like, I cannot say I'm completely happy. The situation is not what I wanted. I've played a lot in recent years, was always fit and also did very well. This is something different and that takes getting used to. I was really looking forward to the next step. And then this happens. It's very difficult. That's football, and I'll have to learn to deal with it. I'm a fighter. I have to stay positive and work hard to turn it around. Mauricio Pochettino has also admitted that Wijnaldum has struggled to settle into life in the French capital. You know, he said that he arrived to the team with a lack of preparation. I mean, that's not great, is it? When he says preparation, so you know that means not up to scratch fitness wise. But if he's going to come back somewhere, he could go back over to the Netherlands and play there. However, I still think he's got enough in him to compete at the highest level. So, you know, why not come back to the Premier League? He knows the league well. He knows the country. London is a very, very attractive prospect. Ooh, what's just come out in the last 10 minutes? Let's have a little look at this story loading. So apparently, this actually come out earlier as well, but it's just been reported by another source as well. Tottenham are keeping tabs on Fiorentina's 25-year-old midfielder, Sofiane Amrabat. Okay, that's an interesting one. So he moved to the Italian side in 2020, established himself as a regular first-teamer. He's made 45 appearances, yet to score a single goal or make an assist, which is not great. Primarily as a defensive midfielder, though, but can perform various functions in midfield and defence and can be considered a utility man of sorts. So essentially a James Milner, and every team needs a James Milner. However, my problem with taking on another defensive midfielder is just the fact that Højbjerg naturally sits there. Skip can do that job as well as being box to box. Winksy himself can operate as kind of a deep line playmaker. Obviously not the best defensively. We did see against Leicester, though, he was putting in plenty of steely tackles, and I think Conte is the man to get the best out of Winksy. However, if we're going to lose Tanguy and Dele Alli, that is making space. But, you know, this is very much going to depend on moving people out. So Fabrizio Romano is one of the people that has come out to speak about Amrabat. And, you know, Romano, he is a transfer guru. So he said he's one of the midfielders on Spurs' radar as they seek to replace Ndombele. You know, whether the Moroccan is exclusive of Tottenham's ability to sell Ndombele this month remains to be seen. And also, Dusan Vlahovic is somebody that I really want in. Many of you guys are going to want in. You know, Fiorentina, they're currently sitting in 7th spot. They've got an outside chance of challenging for the Champions League places. But that might be a reason why someone like Vlahovic might want to move as well. That remains to be seen what's going to happen with him, because apparently he's willing just to let his contract run down and go to Bayern Munich on a free. There was talk that he'd actually agreed a deal in principle with Bayern Munich that once his contract ends, he will happily head over there. So let's talk about a couple of the people that we've been linked with that are not as, shall we say, glamorous. We've been linked. Why is this playing up? So we've obviously been linked with a Accrington Stanley goalkeeper. Can't remember his name off the top of my head. Try and get it up here. But basically, let's just talk about lower league goalkeepers. So there's this myth that when you go for players from lower leagues, it's not very exciting. And it's not. It is not at all exciting to be linked from players from lower leagues. Championship, you can kind of understand. Anything lower doesn't really get the blood pumping. But when they're young, yes, their potential for the future, which is a great thing. We love a bit of potential for the future. The problem is with it, though. They're an unknown quantity at this level. They haven't been tested at that level. But let me just put it this way. Goalkeepers are very, very different to the rest of the outfield players. I'll give you an example. Eric Dyer, since he's been at Tottenham, signed as a centre-back, played as a right-back when he first started for us, moved as a defensive midfielder. Now he's back as a centre-back. So versatile. You're not getting in the... If you don't get in the squad in one position, there's a chance to move to others. Matt Doherty, right back, right wing back, right full back, right midfielder. That's 4 positions for him. Although they're all down the same side, 4 positions. Sonny, striker, left midfielder, left winger. Harry Kane can operate pretty much anywhere he wants. Lucas Moura has been used as a number 10, as a second striker, as a lone striker, as a right winger. Lucas Moura, right wing back, left midfielder, left winger, right winger, striker. Goalkeepers can only play one position. So you find when you're at these top clubs, goalkeepers, you will have, you know, Lloris, our first team goalkeeper, many backup keepers, Michel Vorm, Galini is the current backup, Gazaniga. You know, these players at some point, they want to play regular first team football. Now, for some of these young keepers, what they will do, knowing they're not going to get their chance, they go to lower league teams where they can actually start. So, okay, so the keeper is called Toby Savin. So apparently Conte sees him as Tottenham's future number 1. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. But as I said, they're unknown quantities. So he was actually at Everton as a youth player. He made his League One debut last season, but has won the race for the jersey. So he's currently the number 1 there. Southampton were tracking his progress. He's Southport born. He's 6'4", signed a 3-year contract in 2020. Yeah, do you know what? With this sort of thing, I'm not too disappointed with goalkeepers. As I said, unknown quantity, but they've got to go somewhere. So you actually find with goalkeepers, if you want to compare them, you'll get players in random positions in the Premier League. Okay, so midfielders in the Premier League, great, standard. goalkeepers have to drop down leagues if they want to be number one, because there's only 20 teams in the Premier League, or they have to go abroad. So this kid could be absolutely incredible, but we won't know until he's tested in a squad like this. So is it worth it? I don't know. If there's any Accrington Stanley fans out there, let me know. If any of you Tottenham fans know anything about lower league football, I mean, League One is not something that I really watch, so I don't know much about this guy. There's no point in watching YouTube videos because, as I've said in the past, we can make anyone look great. I'm sure my greatest highlights would make me look like a semi-decent player. I'm not bad. But certainly not up to the standard of any of these guys. So we'll see what that one brings. The guy that we were linked with, last week, is Djed Spence from Middlesbrough. Apparently Arsenal are interested in him as well. He's attracted attention from several Premier League clubs. He's put in lots of impressive performances in the Championship this season. Apparently we're long-term admirers of the 21-year-old, but you know that always happens when you're linked with people. It's always all long-term admirers, yada yada yada. I wouldn't know whether we are because I've not seen lots of links to him in the past. You know, we'll see what that one brings, but I should imagine it's another one where it's going to be a decent chunk of money. But apparently Middlesbrough are only asking for 15 million. Now that's not a lot for a 21-year-old, but obviously once again, Championship players, you know, especially defenders, it's always a risky one. Obviously the quality in the Championship, it does drop a bit from the Premier League. However, it's a very competitive league. There's lots of goals that go in this league. I don't know if we're going to be willing to play ball on this one. Southampton and Brighton are also targeting him as a safety net in anticipation of departures of Livramento, Tariq Lamptey, from them two clubs. We need to be wary of the competition though. But again, look, it's a hard one because look, Rodon's not even getting to play at the moment. So I don't really understand the point in, you know, in getting rid of these players to bring in another player that might not even play. At the end of the day, you got Romero back from injury, which he'll be featuring hopefully after the break. Dyer's obviously just come back. You might have to replace Tanganga. Tanganga potentially is going to go out on loan. This one's not going away. A lot of teams want Tanganga on a permanent transfer, but I think for his own peace of mind, Tanganga would probably prefer a loan if he's going to go abroad just to test the waters first. So you potentially got to replace him, but you would think that if Tanganga's going to go out the door, then that means Rodon just steps straight into them shoes and hopefully he can get a bit more game time. I don't know how I feel about signing another centre-back at this stage. If it just means Rodon's still not going to play. Like, we all think he's a talented player. He's meant to be the guy to fill Dyer's shoes when he's not there. And yet Tanganga's come in and he's been ropey in several games. I don't understand why Conte's continued to trust in Tanganga. I'm hoping that he goes out on loan to gain some experience. I don't want to see him go out of the door, but I want to see Rodon play. Like, what is the point in having this lad if he's just going to sit on the bench every game? I don't understand it. I don't know what's going on behind closed doors. But yeah, let's talk about another couple of potential departures. Bryan Hill. There's a possibility that he could end up going out on loan. Now, we haven't seen a lot of him in a Spurs shirt. He came in, like, he's slightly lightweight in terms of his frame. I do think he needs a bit of, not beefing up, but he needs to become a bit stronger and more physical. That's going to take time to get used to. So there's a few clubs looking at him. There's no point in talking about which clubs they are because I'm sure if there's known availability of him, there's going to be more and more clubs coming. So he's got a decision to make and serve Spurs on what they're going to do to him and allow him to do for his development. I think it's important for him just to get game time at the moment. He's not going to get loads and loads at Spurs because we're in a position where we really need to compete. I think once we're back to a higher standard, performing consistently, then maybe next season will be his time to come in and play a bit more football. But at the moment, he's only really being used right at the end of games. The other player that's being linked with a move away is Giovanni Lo Celso. Now, that's a potential of a loan move or a permanent as well. And I think that's another one. Once we say he's available, there's going to be several clubs that are going to be interested in him, especially his former employers. So that one will be interesting. I mean, he's got the ability to be great, but it's another one like Ndombele. It's just not working out for the guy. I don't know whether it's the system, but he seems to go away and play really well for Argentina. Now, is that because Argentina have been playing well? He's got better players around him and he just kind of fits in better. Spurs are obviously in a transition in terms of, the way we've been playing, the players that we've got, the club. And, some of these guys, they can really struggle in those moments. So maybe that's just a possibility as well. But, if he's to go out, maybe that one should be a loan as well. I don't know. I really don't know. There's a lot to think about, because any players that come in, obviously players have to go out. So let me know in the comments below, who are those players that you want to see go out the door before we can bring players in. But hopefully, Traore deal in the coming days should get over the line. So thanks for sticking around for that one. Don't forget to subscribe, like and comment. And until next time, come on you Spurs.